Hey there! Today, I'll be walking you through how to service the fuel pump on a Johnson 30 horsepower outboard. This guide is proudly sponsored by Marine Engines. While I'm demonstrating this on a Johnson 30 HP, the process applies to many other outboard engines from 9.9 HP to 155 HP, covering models from 1990 onward. Step 1. Remove the fuel pump. First, we'll remove the fuel pump. It's located on the side of the engine, and to take it off, we need to disconnect 3 hoses. Then, unscrew the 2 lower outside screws that mount the pump. There's a gasket between the pump and the engine block, which we'll replace, but keep it for now to ensure the new parts are correct. Pro tip: put the screws back in the engine block temporarily so you don't lose them. Finally, cut the cable ties holding the hoses in place. Step 2. Disconnect the hoses. Use pliers to grip and twist the hoses where they connect to the pump. This will break the friction and make it easier to pull them off. Remove the fuel pump from the engine and take it to a workbench for disassembly. Step 3. Check the repair kit. Let's take a quick look at the repair kit. Inside, we have check valves, gaskets, a new diaphragm, and O-rings. Some parts may not be needed depending on your specific fuel pump model. We'll set the kit aside for now and start taking the pump apart. Step 4. Disassemble the fuel pump. Pay attention to how things are positioned as you disassemble the pump. For example, note the angle of the inlet barb between the 2 screw heads. This will help you reassemble it correctly later. Remove the front cover of the pump to access the mesh filter inside. Be careful, as there may still be fuel inside the pump. Wear gloves to avoid contact with fuel. If you see cracks or damage in the plastic housing, like the one I found on mine, you may need to replace the cover as well. Step 5. Clean and inspect components. Remove the O-rings and other components like the diaphragm and the old check valves. Be sure to clean all parts before installing new ones. Use brake cleaner and a razor blade to scrape off any leftover gasket material. Inspect the screws for corrosion and clean them if needed. Step 6. Install new parts. Begin the reassembly by placing the new diaphragm and gasket in position. Make sure they are properly aligned and not twisted. Install the new check valves, using a small amount of 2-stroke oil to help slide them into place. The wider section should be fully pushed through the hole to lock it in place. Continue by reassembling the pump from back to front, starting with the spring and air dome support. Step 7. Reassemble the fuel pump. Rebuild the pump carefully, paying attention to how each part fits together. Once everything is aligned, tighten the screws, but don't over-tighten. You can add a small amount of Loctite to the screws if you're concerned about them coming loose over time. Reinstall the new gasket on the fuel pump and ensure it's snug. Step 8. Reinstall the fuel pump. Now, let's put the fuel pump back on the engine. Align the new gasket and push the bolts through. Reconnect the hoses. The crankcase pressure hose for the top cylinder connects to the body of the pump. The second hose connects to the back section of the pump. The fuel inlet goes to the top of the pump, and the fuel outlet forks off to the carburetor and the primer start system. Secure the hoses with new cable ties and tighten them using pliers to ensure a snug fit. Step 9. Test for leaks. Once everything is reassembled, prime the fuel system by squeezing the primer bulb until it's firm. Check for any fuel leaks around the hoses and pump. Fuel leaks are dangerous, so ensure everything is sealed tightly and no fuel is leaking before starting the engine. And there you have it. Your fuel pump is now serviced and ready to go. Thanks for watching, and if you found this guide helpful, don't forget to check out our next video, where we'll cover more maintenance tips for this engine. You can also download the service manual from the link in the description below or in the first comment.